The following is a sponsored program paid for by First Alliance Credit Union. Welcome to Good Money Moves, featuring Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome to Good Money Moves. I'm Andy Brownell on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM, along with Jenna Taubel, the Director of Brand and Digital Member Experience with First Alliance Credit Union. Hello, Jenna.
Hey, Andy.
So last week we talked about our financial fears, and specifically about the fear of debt.
Yeah.
What is the Good Money Moves topic this week?
Yeah, so we are going to continue our conversation about financial fears, right? Halloween's getting closer. And let's be honest, debt is definitely not the only money situation that people are afraid of. Another really big fear, and kind of goes along with debt, but it is actually just the process of even applying for a loan.
Yeah.
It can actually be a very nerve-wracking and kind of scary process for people, especially if you've never gone through it before, right? I mean, you're essentially opening up your financial life to what feels like strangers in some cases, and even scarier, someone is like looking through all that and almost judging whether or not you're kind of quote unquote good enough to get a loan, right? And then what happens if you get rejected, right? There's a lot of fear around that. Does a derogatory mark go on your credit report? Will somebody, find out that your finances aren't in a good place and it could cause you more trouble down the road? Or, even worse, most people have a reason for trying to apply for a loan in the first place, right? They want to reach some kind of goal with that loan. And then there's the fear of, well, if I don't get approved for this, where's the money going to come from so I can reach my goal?
Well,
so lots to think about.
And if you weren't stressed out about it before, you are now, right?
Yeah.
Now that you went down the list, yeah. I didn't think of it that way. No, it's all a good point. It is very, very stressful to open yourself up that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah. And the rejection part of it hasn't happened in a long time for me, but yeah, when I was much younger, that did happen. And it's eye-opening experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It can feel, really embarrassing for some people, and it's stressful, and yeah, there's a lot of emotion that goes alongside finances. So it's not surprising that people are very afraid of how all of this works sometimes, which is why we do the show, right?
Right.
And I think, something that most people maybe don't think of either that can be a little bit scary is if you are approved for that loan, in some cases can even feel a little bit scary, because while yes, you're getting that money to start to pay for that financial goal you're trying to attain, and that goal may be very helpful to you, you're also now going into debt, which we talked about all about the fears around that last week, right? And it means you do have another monthly payment that you have to plan for many months, usually years. And people who are starting to make their student loan payments again probably have an idea of what I'm talking about right now, right? We talked about that a couple weeks ago too. But really the thought of needing to make payments in and of itself can just feel intimidating, especially since, again, we've talked about this too, the economy right now is a little bit uncertain. Prices are skyrocketing. People are going on strike, right? There's all kinds of stuff in the news that you're hearing, talk about recession, and what does that mean for your job? And all of those types of worries can compound on top of this fear of having to rely on a loan to meet your goal in the first place. And, and it's also, again, talking about if you lose your job, how are you going to make those payments, right? And for example, if you need that loan to get reliable transportation, you might have to figure out a way to take out that loan regardless, even if you didn't want to. So
right. There are certain things that the vast majority of us are going to need loans for.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be your transportation in most cases.
Yeah.
Um, the time I got rejected for a loan, by the way, that was for transportation,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to buy a car that cost me $50. And it ended up being a great vehicle. It had holes in the floor, and I had to wear a sleeping bag around my legs to stay warm in the winter, but
Oh my
it
gosh.
got me where I needed it to go. It also taught you the importance of getting your finances in order. It's not a pleasant way to have it happen. But yeah,
Yeah.
the vehicles, the roof over your head in general,
Mm-hmm.
most people are not able to pay cash up front for a home.
Yeah.
A lot of these really, really important things. Education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And good points, I mean, about the nervousness of it because you've got mm, this budget working right now for you, and you're going to allocate a chunk of it
Mm-hmm.
for months and months and months and months to come to
Yeah.
paying off that debt to reach, but the goal in most cases, like you say, a vehicle loan, if it's going to get you to the job that's going to better you financially, is
Yeah.
well worth it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Loans are not inherently bad. They are a financial tool that can help you immensely reach a lot of your financial goals if they're used correctly.
Yep. So now you got to think about the unexpected as well, though, while you're doing this process,
Exactly.
and maybe plan for the unexpected, the worst case
Yeah.
scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot to be fearful of, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can be scary, right? I mean, again, like I said, the kind of that if you're a first time applying for a loan, even, right, it can especially be scary because you don't know what to expect from the process. But I think that's what this show is all about today, kind of shining a light on that this really big financial fear that a lot of people really do have. Um, and you're right, we're shining a light on that boogeyman in the basement to see
The
what he really
boogeyman.
is. And there's again, there's no getting around the fact that taking out a loan isn't risk free, right? Because you're kind of betting that your financial situation is either going to be the same or improve over the course of that loan so that it doesn't become a financial burden. Um, but loans do have huge benefits, and that's really kind of the whole idea here is that they can help you reach goals that might not be possible with your own savings, right? And they might also help you get ahead financially, right? Those we mentioned the student loans, for example. School's expensive. There are very, very few people who can truly go all the way through and get a higher education degree without having to take on debt in some form or fashion. It's possible sometimes, but not most people are not able to do that. So, but you're doing so in hopes that you will get a better job someday so that you can pay off those loans, right? That's the idea.
Right.
And then in the same vein, getting that mortgage, it's stressful, but in return, you get a piece of property, which turns into an asset, which hopefully helps you grow value over time, right? So there are big benefits that loans can provide you. Again, making sure that you're using those appropriately.
Particularly a home mortgage.
Yes.
You think of the number one way to grow wealth in our nation it is owning property.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
can gain that
absolutely.
equity in a home, it it's in the old saying, it's the bank account you live in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a
Yeah,
huge plus
it is.
for anybody to have that basis going forward. That even if you, especially nowadays, if you think about it, that there's very little risk in owning that real estate with the shortage of properties that are out there. That
Mm-hmm.
there's such an abundance of buyers compared to sellers that in the near future, at least, it'd be pretty hard to imagine a situation where even if your personal situation worsened by, let's say, a strike or
Mm-hmm.
loss of job, at
Mm-hmm.
least you'd be able to sell that property and likely sell it and gain quite a bit of equity at the same time. And that's all due to overcoming these fears we're talking about and opening up your financial life to somebody else sitting across you with a
Yeah,
computer screen in front of them and getting their permission to use a bit of capital to improve your financial situation.
exactly.
So we're talking about fear of loans. And I imagine logically what we'll talk about when we come back from the break is how you can make it a little less scary. So we'll do
Yes.
that after this break, okay? Jenna
Mhm.
Taubel is here with First Alliance Credit Union. I'm Andy Brownell, and this is Good Money Moves on News Talk 1340, KROC AM, and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM, and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We are back with more Good Money Moves. Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union, and I'm Andy Brownell. Today we're talking about the fear of taking out a loan. And Jenna, I'm going to throw it right to you, and you can maybe get us started on how to make it a little bit less scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best thing to do to make applying for a loan less scary, whether it's your first time, your second time, your 40th time, is plan ahead. Before you even apply online or set foot in a branch to talk to a member advisor about a loan, you want to start thinking about a couple of things. First, is your credit score in a good place? Because that's going to be a huge factor in whether or not you qualify and what type of loan and what type of interest rate you qualify for. How much debt do you currently have? And are you spending more money currently than you're bringing in? And those questions are going to help you understand really, can you even afford the loan that you're seeking?
So that's what I'm going to be judged on, those three factors.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Because how much debt you currently have plays into your credit score. It plays into what's called a debt to income ratio, and that's a piece of the puzzle. Do you have more debt than your income can handle? That kind of stuff. And if you're spending more money than you're bringing in, you're not going to be able to afford that monthly payment to repay that loan. So, if your finances aren't as good as you'd like them to be once you've kind of assessed these kind of three questions, don't beat yourself up, right? Instead, just take a minute, pat yourself in the back because you did a brave thing and you tried to figure out where you stand financially, which is a huge, huge hurdle. And it does take a little bit of courage to even take that step in a lot of cases. So it's hard to look at it this way, but once you really know where you are financially, you can start to take steps to get where you want to be. And so to pick up on the analogy that I used earlier, when you see that the boogeyman is just a bunch of junk in the basement that you neglected to throw away, you can start clearing it out instead of letting it continue to scare you and keep you away. So you can make plans to pay off your debts, right? You can make plans to save more money so that you don't have to borrow as much. Making a budget or a spending plan is, well, it's very easy to do overall. And it can really ensure that you can cover your necessary expenses each month and then be able to use that remainder to start to meet some of these other financial goals that you have, like we talked about many times on this show. So there's some easy steps you can take before you even apply for the loan that can help you feel more prepared to have the conversation with the financial institution that you're looking to get that loan from.
And you're right about taking that look. A lot of folks don't take that step, and that's probably error number one, because that's what you really have to do to get the ball rolling. Look in the mirror, open up Pandora's box. And, oftentimes I think that if you actually shine the flashlight in there, you're going to find out it's not quite as bad as you thought.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be plenty of cases where that's really what happens, but also taking the time to really look at it that way, you'll be prepared for the no. If you get the no, you'll understand why. It won't be a shock to you, right? You doesn't mean you shouldn't ask, right? You never know what the lending parameters are be or what exactly that response is going to be, but at least you won't be caught off guard by a no, should you get one.
You'll have that piece of information, that knowledge, and that's always powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. What about applying for the loan itself?
Yeah.
Is there anything that can make that process less scary?
Yeah, so I think, once you've kind of assessed your financial situation, and if you found that you need to do any kind of fixes beforehand, and you've kind of addressed some of those situations, um, the next thing to really do is to find out what materials you're going to need to even apply for a loan, because you are going to need some documents, things like your proof of who you are, proof of your address, income verification, so things like your W-2s, pay stubs, things like that. So it doesn't hurt to gather those things ahead of time so you're not trying to scramble to find those. It can just help the process go a little bit smoother and a little bit more quickly when you have some of that ready to go out the gate. And it also is really helpful if you have clear reasons for wanting the loan that you're asking for. So, in other words, it helps if you kind of take a minute to ask yourself, how will this loan help me reach my goals? And this can actually make a bigger difference than you would think. So if you, especially at First Alliance, where we look at your full picture of your finances and how that loan you're wanting and seeking out is truly going to fit in and help you achieve the goals that you are trying to achieve. Um, so it can just be very helpful to have some of that determined and gathered beforehand, and that in and of itself can make the process less scary because you don't feel like you're grasping at straws or aren't clear about what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Sure. Makes sense. I mean, I can imagine a scenario where you're looking to get that new vehicle, and the reason you feel you want the new vehicle is there's a promotion out there potentially, and you may have to put some miles on, tied in with that,
Hmm.
and all the synergy of that. I can see that working with a loan officer. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because you
absolutely.
have the potential to greatly increase your income.
Yeah.
Okay, let's flip it around. What what if I get the big no? What if I get rejected?
Yeah. So if your application gets turned down, it obviously is not going to feel good, right? You're going to feel maybe a little embarrassed, frustrated, kind of not sure where to go next. But no one outside of you and that lending advisor is going to know, right? It's not like it's being put on your credit report that you were denied or on any type of permanent public record, right? It's not going to damage your credit score any further, right? And that lending advisor is not going to share that information publicly. So it's really just your information for you to know, hey, my financial situation is not um, good right now, and this loan's not going to make it any better. It would only make it worse. That would be the reason that you would get rejected for a loan application. So um, having your loan application denied, again, it doesn't feel like it, but it isn't the end of the world. And it also doesn't mean that you can never apply for that loan or another loan again. It just means that you can't get a loan from that financial institution at this particular moment in time. And so it's really important that you don't just give up hope, right? Especially here at First Alliance, our lending advisors are going to give you advice on how you can improve your chances of getting approved for that loan in the future. They may give you steps to take or other organizations to reach out to kind of help start getting you back on the right financial path so that you can in the near future achieve those goals that you have that you're looking for with that loan. And also they can provide you with, resources we've talked that on our online resource center. We've got goal setting worksheets, budget planners, debt organizers, all of that stuff to help you start getting your finances in order so that you can make progress towards those financial goals that you're looking to solve with that loan. And if you want help filling those out, print them off, bring them with you. Our team can kind of sit down with you and talk you through each of these, help you organize those debts, so that the next time you go to apply, you're more likely to get approved.
Awesome. We're talking about fears about getting loans, how to overcome those fears, make the process less scary. All good money moves, and we'll return in a moment with more on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking good money moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Thanks for joining us for Good Money Moves today, talking about fears associated with taking on loans and what you can do about it. Now, Jenna, just before we took the break, you talked about what to do if you are rejected and steps you can take. What if I needed that loan and that loan was crucial for me to reach my financial goals? I mean, what do I do? What do I do now?
Yeah. And again, it's really hard not to feel disappointed and frustrated by that situation. And it's okay to feel that way. But what I can tell you is that most people's goals have setbacks along the way, right? There's very few times where everything goes smoothly according to plan. There's no bumps in the road. And the bigger your goal, the more likely it is that you're going to experience a setback at some point in time to try to reach that. So I think the best thing that you can do is go back to your plan and see if there's an alternative way to reach that goal, right? I'm going to use the example of, let's say you applied for an auto loan for a new car and you got denied for that loan, for instance, right? Other things that you could do to try to solve that problem would be, maybe you can fix your current vehicle for a little bit less money or just enough to get you rolling again. Maybe you can use the Rochester public transportation system, depending on where you live and where you need to go, obviously. And you could try carpooling with someone for a short time, which would actually help you save money on gas, which then you could put towards trying to attain this new car. You could use services like Lyft and Uber in the meantime. So not to say that these are all perfect scenarios. It's obviously best to have your own transportation so that you can live your life the way you need to. But it's also not the end of the world if you get denied. And the thing I want to stress again is that if you do get a denial on a loan application, it is not the end of the world, even though it may feel like it, right? It just means your finances aren't in a good place to support you taking on more debt at this time. And so what your new focus should be is getting your finances to a place where you can absorb a new layer of debt into your mix, because that's the reason you would get denied, not because you're a bad person, but
Right.
because we at the credit union do not want to put you in a worse financial position. That's never our goal.
Yeah. And as you pointed out, if you're somehow blessed to not face setbacks along any path that you're taking towards a goal,
Yeah.
you are one lucky soul.
Yeah.
So the next step is paying for the loan after I get it. I guess, how do I prepare myself for absorbing those payments?
Yeah. Well, again, kind of planning ahead is going to be your friend here. So, you should know beforehand how much you can afford to pay on the loan each month. That's a big part of going into the loan application process in the first place, is doing a little bit of due diligence for yourself and understanding your own finances and what you can afford and what you can't. And this is where a budget is really, really helpful. So if you can estimate either on a loan calculator or by sitting down with a lending advisor, take a look at your budget, figure out where that money is going to come from in your income, and ask, do you have extra money you can put towards a loan payment right now? If not, where are you going to reduce spending in some of your other kind of spending categories to come up with the amount that you need for whatever loan it is you're seeking? And if you can come up with that answer, then you're going to feel a lot better about making those loan payments, because you'll know that you've got the money you need to do that. It's no longer something you have to be afraid of. And if you're worried about not being able to pay back your loan due to maybe losing your job or some other unforeseen circumstance in life, there are tools available to you. First Alliance Credit Union offers a product called debt protection that you can add on to your loans. And it's basically like insurance for if you are in a situation where you're unable to pay your loan. And there is there is a premium based on how much you borrow. So each month your insurance payment would be kind of just rolled up into your loan payments every month. But if something does happen, you're and you're unable to pay your loan, you kind of file a claim against this debt protection program, and the plan will cover your loan payments over a period of time, or in certain circumstances, they may pay off the loan balance up to a certain amount. Just there's different plans you can buy into, and they offer different things, and they have coverage for different types of events and things like that. And but we've had so many members who have enrolled in this program and been so appreciative of it, because things happen in life that you just don't know, right? You lose your job, get sick, and have not be able to work, or on any number of situations that can arise, right? And I think there's other, some quick relief options, right? We have at First Alliance what's called a skip a pay program, where you can skip a loan payment, if you're falling onto some temporary hardships at the moment. It's a cost of $40 to skip your loan payment, and you can do it several times throughout the year. So there's programs in place. So if you do get into a situation where you are unable to make those payments, just reach out to the financial institution that you got that loan from and be upfront. Hey, I'm struggling. How can you help me? What tools do you have? Do you have programs? Can we restructure this loan? Can we pause payments until such and such a time when I know I'll be back at work? Or, and really work with them. Don't be afraid to make that initial outreach as soon as you know things are not going well.
All right. Keep the lines of communication open.
Yes.
Covered a lot of ground today, Jenna, but I know there's more out there. Maybe you could point us at some additional resources.
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage our listeners to visit our website at firstalliancecu.com. You can subscribe to our blog. We release new financial tips and advice out there every week. I would also encourage you to check out our YouTube channel as well. We've got a bunch of videos coming out around facing your financial fears that'll be available out there. You can listen to past episodes of this show at firstalliancecu.com/podcast or on krocnews.com. You can also subscribe to Good Money Moves on Apple, Google, and Spotify. If you love our show, please take a minute to leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. If you do have a financial topic or a question that you would like covered on Good Money Moves, please send me an email at marketing@firstalliancecu.com. And of course, I strongly encourage you to reach out to our team at First Alliance Credit Union. They are here to help you start making good money moves today.
That is First Alliance Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender. Jenna Taubel, thank you again. I look forward to next week.
Absolutely.
Another episode of Good Money Moves coming up next week right here on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.